Hello, it's been a while. I haven't posted lectures lately because I've been sick. I am not crazy sick, but it's coming and going. I have like a mild fever in the evenings, and then I'm okay in the morning, but not really okay. So it's really annoying because it's like I'm not sick enough, so I feel guilty that I'm not working, but then I said, today, not tomorrow, and then because I need energies. These videos are not easy. I have to get in the zone. I have to convince you about things. And anyway, so here I am, and I took 3 Tylenols, and it will be okay. Like it will be okay. Maybe it will be funny, but let's see. What we are going to do is like this. I read all the feedbacks that you guys sent us. The weekly feedbacks and the anonymous feedbacks. And I understood a lot of things, and it is helping us a lot. So we'll continue with that. Please continue writing. It's really helpful. It's helpful for me to understand what is clear, what is interesting, and how to adjust things for you. So what we are going to do today, what we are going to do in general from now on, is that because you are more interested than usual, more interested than I expected in all the things that I'm telling you, which makes me very happy, sincerely. It does. And I wish we could have, maybe I'll talk to you guys. Maybe we'll never mind. But we have to get to the book. But on the other hand, I've been talking more and more. Evolution was supposed to be 1.5 lectures. Now it's going to be 2.5 lectures and other stuff, and I'll have to take out other stuff. So what we are going to do, we will continue with the intro in parallel, and we'll start with the book. And I'll try all the time to connect. We already have enough. There was one more step that I wanted to take you, some more answers that I wanted to provide you, but we can already continue. And today I'll talk about those answers that all of you have been so great questions you have been asking, the right ones, like you're asking the right questions. So what we're going to do today is like this. We're going to review where we are, a macro picture, the rabbit hole, that long sentence, evolution, and then I'll start to connect things and answer questions that I left open, some of them, not everything, but I'll start to build something a little bit more coherent, and on the way also answer a lot of questions, recurrent questions that you guys have been asking, which are the right questions. That's exactly the questions you should be asking. First of all, I want to react to some things that you guys wrote. The spiders. Sorry about the spiders. Yes, I exaggerated. It's when I watched again, and it was too much. I will take care. I won't. Tylenol is kicking now. So that's about the spiders. Another thing is, half of you are asking for more about science and religion. I doubt I will try to answer the main recurrent specific questions, but I don't know if I'll have time to really enter that. But maybe I don't promise. Maybe I'll bring a guest speaker that will talk about it. Let's see. But sorry if by the end we don't cover it. But I'll try to at least some main questions I'll try to talk about. Many of you have wrote me something that I was surprised how many and how and I'm really happy about it, that you agree with me, you like, you want more, you endorse the idea that you don't need me to read the book, that you're more interested in what is not written in the book, in the process of changing the way we think, in understanding, on challenging the way we perceive the world and everything like that. So we will have to find a middle ground, because we have to cover the book. And so I will not tell you what I think are obvious things that are written in the book, but some things that either I think are more complicated, or I want to add other perspective. Mainly, it will probably be to add more perspectives to what is written in the book. The book, like any textbook, brings answers, tells you how things are, black and white, memories like this. And I am really happy that you guys are flowing with me into the gray area behind the black and white of the textbook. So we'll find the middle ground between all this abstract stuff and all the infinite and and covering the retina and etc. And this brings me to something serious that I want to say. Many of you have been asking me my opinion about a lot of things. What do my beliefs, not religious, that's curiosity, it's okay, but let me put it like this. My opinions, this is not relevant. No, not that I can tell you anything. I can tell anything, but it's not that. There is no value. My opinion is like anyone else's. What I'm offering you is the content. It's not. There is no. The fact that it's coming out of this mouth means nothing. I want to convince you. I want you to take my words, and it doesn't matter where it comes from, and you judge it. You judge it. If you like it, use it. Use it the way you find it right to use. When I tell you about how the light and the retina and stuff and it's written in the book, okay, that's something else. That's I'm telling you things that I was told. But here in this introduction so far, I am offering you a perspective, not the perspective, a possible perspective that if you find useful, if I convince you of its soundness, of its inner logic, of its, then it's yours to use it however you want, to throw it away tomorrow or today, to use parts of it, to, in the best case, I hope you can use it together with your other perspectives. It's not instead of anything, it's only another point of view for you to use. That's all. Another thing that many of you have been asking is about free will. And oh boy, that's a I think this is the most, I think, in my opinion, this is the trickiest subject behind everything I've been talking about so far. And very interesting, and I have a lot to talk about it. But it's dangerous. I don't know what I was expecting, that nobody would connect things and ask me. Yes, possibly I was hoping that nobody would ask me. I will talk about it, but later, and I will talk about it in a complementary video that I'll put it aside for whoever wants to watch it. I my own hole. I'm starting to feel that I am not sharp and I'm talking too much and it's too long. I'll try to accelerate. So I hope that by now you agree with me that by now you would agree with me that there is a difference between me telling you a sentence, writing it on a slide, and then you understand at that same moment, let's say, everything is random and there is no master plan for evolution, and then in the moment that I explain it, within 3 minutes, you understand it, and it makes sense, and it's okay. There is a difference between that and revisiting the same idea from different perspectives and having examples, because this is the training I was talking about. This is how you change the way you think. Not only by understanding a point, but by training. And training is exactly like a sport. When you, let's say you're learning tennis, and then you learn one movement. So you can learn one specific at that moment. The more you train it, the more it comes automatically, the easier you use that concept, and the wider the range of situations in which you are able to use it. So exactly the same here. So the concepts that then with the ball, but the stories about when, not always when we don't understand, there is something to be understood. So also, you understood the first time I said it, but without, okay, why am I saying all this? Because now I'm going to tell you stuff that later we will train, but I'll tell you now in order to organize things, in order to connect things, and in order to answer one important question that I failed to explain. A few words about the rabbit hole metaphor. So I compared humanity trying to understand the universe as humanity lost inside a rabbit hole. And then I said that there is a cycle that every time humanity goes for an exploration, and then suddenly someone claims that we came to the same place, that humanity have been walking in circles. So I will give the examples that I promised from King Solomon and all the others. I don't know everything, but that will be in complementary videos later. For those who want to, you won't have to watch it in order to understand other stuff. That's what I mean by complementary. But what I meant, just to summarize, is like this. So humanity, let's say that in the beginning, okay, there is God, a metaphysical explanation that explains everything, and there is an exit that goes like this, and an entrance, and I gave the examples of Adam and Eve with the fruit of knowledge, and the exit when we die, and okay. And then at a certain point, people started to ask about, wait, but God doesn't make sense. So that's one point. So it happened all the time. I said, I gave examples, my highlights, but all the time there were people, different times, different places, asking, requesting, challenging ideas. So okay, so God, the story of God doesn't make sense to me. So maybe not God, but Mother Nature, destiny. Okay, at other time, okay, no, but this is God with another name. So let's, where can we find truth? So the search inside the rabbit hole is the search for something that everybody agrees, truth with capital T, something that there is no doubt that this is universally right or true. Okay. And then there were those that came and said, okay, so Mother Nature is like God, so maybe let's ground it on experience, things that we can see, things that we can. It's the minimum standard for on that start to building truth. And then another experience. Then another group of people came and said, no, this experience, palpable things that we can see and this is not good enough. What about ideas? What about okay? So logic. So whatever I can think of, and I can build on my abstract ideas, and from there. So and then. Afterwards, someone comes and say, well, you came to the same place because, ideas, you can imagine anything. You can, so can you imagine God? Yes. Okay. So you just proved that God exists. So we came back to so the rabbit hole metaphor, the rabbit hole story was a metaphor to tell you that so far, human beings haven't found anything that they agree on. Anything. No piece of anything. No story, no truth, no fact, no nothing. Different people believe in many different things and accept at different times. But one thing that everybody agrees upon, everybody thinks, nothing so far. It doesn't mean that tomorrow we won't find. We humans. But so far, nothing. So, things that I said that you guys are still very curious what I meant by. One, that everything we feel that we have an answer, it's time to ask a better question. Two, that no narrative is true, but they are useful sometimes. Or many times, depends. Three, that there is a trade-off between adopting a narrative that is useful and not true, and understanding better. And fourth, all the story about why not metaphysics. And the story about, and I'll tell you when I understood that I haven't explained it. One of you wrote to me like this. You claimed that science and religion don't go together. But you have been telling us that everything is random. There is no master plan. That is against any religion. Metaphysics is, I use the words I use, is harmful, doesn't serve us, is not useful. So I am surprised that nobody got, I don't know, angry. That I really, I take my head off. It was humbling. All of you asked me questions regarding, you were like, you gave me the benefit of the doubt. You asked me, but wait, if you said like this doesn't make sense with that. So now I'll explain, and it was my fault. It was me that didn't explain. So what I meant to say, and maybe I said, but if I said, I didn't say enough. What I meant to say is not that everything is random. I meant to say that there is a possibility that everything is random. Is one possibility out of any other explanation. The difference, the difference between the possibility that everything is random and all the other possibilities is that all the other possibilities have factors, have ingredients that I don't understand, that I must believe in that ingredient, in that factor. And the explanation that everything is random, I don't have to believe anything. There is no ingredient behind that story that I say, okay, I don't understand it, I accept as a fact that I don't understand. One of the first things that I said, I think in lecture 2, was that science does not, cannot, and doesn't have to rule out, refute metaphysics. And that's true. So all explanations are possible. Any kind of God, any kind, whatever, all those explanations are possible. We cannot refute any of them. But all of them involve accepting a chunk of something that I really don't understand. The explanation of everything is random, the chunk is much smaller if there is. I don't know, that's a discussion that we can have, or maybe philosophers can answer that to us, this randomness. But I think that accepting that randomness is and will continue to be, no, you know what? Even if we say that randomness one day will be explained, it's still, and I accept now that I don't understand, it's still a smaller assumption. It's a smaller, I still don't have to believe in a master plan. And I still can explain. TYLENOL. So now you ask me, okay, what's the problem with adopting an explanation that has an ingredient, a factor, that I don't understand? What's the problem with believing in a master plan? So I'll say something that later I will explain much more, I'll demonstrate, we'll train, but I'll just say it. It's like this. There is only one answer in the whole world, in the whole universe that we know, that I know, that I am aware that we know. Okay. So there is only one answer that can really answer anything. And it is metaphysics. God, Mother Nature, okay. This is the only thing that is that another question cannot penetrate. Okay, you remember everything, we feel that we have an answer, it's time to ask a better question. This works endlessly until you bring metaphysics. You always can ask a better question until you bring metaphysics. Metaphysics stops this process because metaphysics answers, and the answer is you don't understand. Okay, let's continue our sentence. Every piece of knowledge is a ad hoc, tentative narrative story that we adopt in consciously to organize that. And then I said, no narrative is true, but is sometimes useful. And then, okay, why no narrative is true? And that is the same with the ad hoc tentative. That's so at a certain point, at a certain time, it's not true. So it's useful at a certain time, at a certain point for something specific. That's why, and so it's not universal. That's why it's not true. True with capital T. Because as long as we don't assume metaphysics for a narrative, this narrative can always be challenged by a better question. I will demonstrate it later. And then we will understand what's this usefulness. Yes, there are endless narratives that are useful. Everything in science that is useful is a narrative that is not true, but is useful. Okay, and this range of when it's useful, when it's not useful, I promise you I will explain it. Now, but I also said that metaphysics is also a piece of knowledge. It's also knowledge. So it's also a narrative that is not true. Yes, well, for those, let's put it this way. There is no metaphysics that everybody agrees. There is no piece of knowledge, metaphysical or not, that everybody agrees on. That's why I said that no narrative is true. We are not aware of any piece, anything that is not a question that has been proven. So not true. Useful. Okay. Is metaphysics useful? Extremely useful! Extremely! This is something that, sorry, I didn't explain it. When I said that metaphysics doesn't serve us, is harmful and all this, it's only within science in terms of allowing us to ask a better question. Because metaphysics answers. Actually, I don't know if I already said it, but metaphysics, I said it, is the only answer that exists. Okay, yeah, I said it. So metaphysics is extremely useful for a human being, for a soul, for society, for, wow, endless things. You know better, everybody knows that for science, whenever we unconsciously, consciously all the more, unconsciously adopt a peace, a whimth, a metaphysical vibes, we are raising the arm brakes. We are restraining, and that's the, we are restraining ourselves from asking better questions. And that's the trade-off. Let me say in a different way. Science knows nothing about truth. Science, Popperian science, where we are today, and science has been changing all the time. This is only the last version that I am telling you about. So science goes like this. As long as we don't have a proof, a empirical or logic hint to truth, to any truth, as long as we don't have it, let's be patient. Let's wait. Let's not jump just because we are uncomfortable. Let's not jump and accept any truth as long as we don't have a reason to accept any truth. Now, wait. Another way to put it is like this. From the point of view of science, how can I choose between this metaphysics, that metaphysics, that metaphysics, or that metaphysics? I don't understand any one of them. So I wait patiently until we, humanity, have any reason, like this, to choose one of them. But science cannot disprove, cannot refute any one of them. All of them are possible, legitimate explanations for everything. But if I have to choose one of them, how can I do it? So the explanation that everything is random, I don't have to assume something that I don't understand. I'll go one step further. Science is a technique. It's a method. It's a technique. Popperian science is the latest technique. Like 20 years ago they played tennis like this, now they play tennis like this. Is this the best technique? No! Is it obviously not the true technique? It's only a technique, and the other techniques we are aware of, we think that they are worse, so we are using this technique right now. Now, without this technique, everything crumbles? Of course not. Think about the big navigation. Think about the 16th century. The Europeans, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Dutch, they could navigate across the Atlantic, and they still thought that the Earth is flat. But they could navigate really well. Did science, the technique of science in its previous versions, did it work? Yes, of course. Does this work better? I don't know. This is the version that we think now that works better. Now let me say something bombastic that I will prove to you. Yeah, that I am convinced that I will convince you later. It's like this. The scientific technique, the only thing that the scientific technique tries to do is to achieve prediction. It is not to understand, and it's not to search for truth. I invite all the sticks and stones for people from people that disagree with me. But okay, if I convince you, it's you will judge my words. So I will really try to convince you that if we accept the technique of science, the Popperian, the last version, then we also will agree that there exists no understanding. Understanding is like truth. It cannot exist as long as we don't have something that I don't know. God comes and proves. Okay. So all we have is prediction. So the only thing that science tries to do is to predict things. And because we already saw that the universe changes all the time, randomly, or at least we cannot predict, it means that prediction, whenever we predict something, it must be temporary. It must be as long as the universe stays like that, which is something impossible. Until when a given prediction will expire, we don't know. Maybe 5,000 years, but maybe tomorrow. We cannot know. All we know that with the technique of science, which is a technique, is a small portion of a technique that comes from philosophy. Philosophy tries to make sense of within that. From that technique, from that larger technique, there is the small technique of science that tries to predict this. In order to predict something, because the universe is changing all the time, and because we don't know until when a prediction will remain useful, then this technique works best when we try to predict the smallest the piece of the universe that we try to predict, the better it works. Okay, what is prediction? In a moment, we'll come back to that. Like in the evolution, but prediction is the connection between two or more events, a long time. Okay, so the smallest, the realm within which I predict, the best the scientific technique works. Now, you've talked to scientists. Whenever you ask a researcher, what do? You hear, first of all, it's air coming out. Like, why? How can I explain? Because it's always the think of the small. Only 200 people, 2,000 people, 200 people in the world understand. It's always because the smallest is the realm, the better it works. We will understand that later. Now, let's go back to metaphysics, to religion, to God. It's the opposite. Any religion, it explains everything. It's the opposite from science. What I'm saying now is another perspective to explain why I am convinced, and I'm trying to convince you, why religion and science are not in conflict. Because, first of all, that I already explained, science cannot, does not, should not, doesn't has to, and doesn't try to refute metaphysics. It just doesn't use it. Another way, another perspective that I am telling you now, upon which my claim that there is no conflict is based, is that metaphysics is the largest possible. Science, the technique, it's not an ideology, it's a technique that changes all the time. So this technique, according to what we think today, and we are talking since the middle of the 20th century, this technique works. The smallest the thing, the better it works. It's the opposite from metaphysics.